Welcome to the Death Battle cast. It's us. We are the cast and crew of Death Battle. And one of us is going a little more hardcore than usual, I think.
I should have shaved my head to complete the bit.
Are you ready for this? Because clearly Billy is. Billy,
I'm
great
fucking
to have
ready
you on the show.
I can't tell if he's. I can't tell if he's frozen or if he's doing a bit. You never know.
Oh, that's so funny. You were so stock still. It was I was like, wow, he's committing. He hasn't even moved. Okay, it's just
he hasn't moved. Like, that's just Billy now. He's so stoic.
I think you should reset your view.
Yeah, if you can't get it fit.
Because you're
hey, of course,
he lives.
Have Liam and Chad and me, Ben.
Hey.
Hi.
The usuals. I think by this point, right?
The
usual. All right, so welcome to the Death Battle Cast. Thanks for joining us live on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Members, it's great to have you here. See you guys in the chat. This is going to be great. We have a very different, I think, maybe kind of community death battle to get to today. But if you have not seen it yet, you should go check out Magneto versus Tetsuo.
Yes.
New death battle is out. It is fantastic. I love what Liam and his team did on this. It's really good. First time DJ has written an episode, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Research for the show last year, and now
the first time I DJ'd an episode,
and ended with some feels. We don't have to talk about it, but
what did you say, Chad?
What did you say?
I said it ended with some feels.
What did you just say? Oh, there was some fails. There were some fails.
Yeah.
There was some feels.
Yeah, like I saw
some feels.
a bunch of comments that were like, this was even more hitting me in the feels than the JoJo Tanjiro episode.
Yeah.
Well, the JoJo Tanjiro one was kind of a joke, and how it was
like
delivered.
Half joke.
This one was not. This one, I mean, I don't want to spoil it just in case somebody here hasn't seen it yet, because it's only been out for like a day on YouTube. But yeah, I have seen some people trying to compare them. I don't think that really works, even though the general idea is kind of similar. One is sort of meant to be funny. This one is. Yeah. These are some dark ass characters, so we're not going to be able to make it that kind of thing.
One's with bad guys, the other one's with good guys. That's a big difference.
To put it simply. All right, so the community death battle that we have in mind today is Star Wars versus Star Trek. A battle that, of course. Yeah, exactly. Something I'm sure everybody here is like, oh God, what mess are we getting ourselves into?
I can't believe we've never done this on the show for real. A Star Wars Star Trek episode that feels like something that we would have seen in like season 1. I feel
maybe we can cover some of that reason why it hasn't been touched too much here today. I think it's an interesting topic.
Bill, you really are blue. You are like that's like face paint. I thought that was like lighting. That's actual that's incredible.
Well, thank you.
You blew yourself.
Yeah.
Wait.
I want that as my quote for the day.
Is that not lighting?
That's not lighting, dude. Look at his lips. You can see the
natural.
Yeah.
Man, so you're really going for it.
Yeah, dude.
If it wasn't clear,
I should have shaved. We're in a bald cap.
If you are listening to the audio version, you should definitely check out the video version of this one.
Once I knew I was up against Liam,
full Thrawn.
Right? It's about presentation, because I'm up against Liam, who's gonna work me over with some numbers here. I'm assuming
you're gonna win the vote. It's Star Wars. I'm repping Star Trek, so you're gonna win the vote for sure.
Not necessarily. We'll see. So we are doing Jean-Luc Picard versus Admiral Thrawn. That's not like his real name. What's his real name again? It's like
Mithran Nurodo.
His real name is George Georgerson.
Jimmy Thrawn. Yeah, Jimmy Thrawn. So two leaders of expanding fleets of exploration and whatnot. Oh God.
the Emperor, the Empire versus the Federation.
We'll get to Trioculus in a death battle one of these days, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, we're definitely going to do a
Trioculus in a death battle
episode. Look, that would
son
be
of Darth Vader or whatever
episode. That would be a really fucking
the Emperor.
funny
I can't
episode.
remember.
He's the son of Darth Vader, quote unquote. Not really. It's not true.
And he's got a third eye for some reason. Yeah. All right. So I'm very curious how you guys want to go with this matchup because I feel like we could hit a lot of snags very, very quickly.
Sorry, Matthew Dillon in the chat says Eobard Thrawn.
Yeah.
That was very good.
Eobard, yep, that's pretty close. Yeah,
everyone kept getting it wrong in our call, like that was deciding this match. They were like Thrawn, and I was like, "Do we already do Thrawn?" I was like, "No, Thrawn."
Like Thrawn,
like prawn.
Was that important?
He's a fish
like
person.
Tron with an H.
Nope. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and get to it.
Yeah, for a hot minute we were discussing having it just be like one-on-one. I don't think that's particularly fair to Picard at all, right? That was one of the
right.
things
Yeah.
Thrawn would really
in a hand-to-hand fight. Thrawn would just bend
ever living
Picard
shit out of Picard
like a pretzel. The only thing you could maybe argue is that phasers are better overall than blasters, but more in terms of like a versatility thing. Maybe in terms of power, I'm not sure. But not like the versatility of a gun is not as important because they're both guns. So I would handily give a hand-to-hand fight to Thrawn. But the whole point is that they're commanders. They lead ships. Yeah. The Enterprise and the Chimera, which is
they have other people
Imperial
do their fighting for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So ship versus ship, crew versus crew, perhaps even fleet versus fleet.
Yeah, the trick here is going to be figuring out exactly what kind of battle we want this to be. If it's the Chimera versus the Enterprise, which I don't think necessarily personally reflects Thrawn well enough. Not only is the Chimera not his ship, it's his flagship, but it's not like his ship. It's Pelaion's ship. His job as a Grand Admiral is to command fleets. Like that's what he does. So not giving him a fleet feels like we're intentionally stripping away Thrawn. But then again, Picard doesn't typically command a fleet, so if we give him a fleet, is that like misrepresenting Picard? So we'll see how this kind of wraps up. I'm also looking at the chat if you guys have ideas on how you think this should go, not just in terms of like who you think should win, because of course we're going to be taking those answers and talking about those, but also in terms of like how you can sort of see a battle like this, or how you envision it sort of working, because I think this is also sort of it's almost like a little brainstorming session to be like, hey, if we ever did a death battle like this, what would you guys want to see it? What would you guys want it to be like? So let's go ahead and get started with sort of just running down the characters and what they themselves are really good at, what they can accomplish in 60 seconds. We can start with Picard. With Liam. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Picard is the captain of the USS Enterprise. He is a brilliant strategist, diplomat, explorer, and commander in wars. He's done it all. He's incredibly smart, but not only that, a big advantage he has against Thrawn is that his crew complements him. And his crew is all capable of taking command if the need arises.
Number one.
Exactly. Number one. And not only that, the biggest advantage he has is that the Enterprise is, and really Star Trek technology in general is on the whole vastly superior to Star Wars technology. The USS Enterprise would absolutely crumple an Imperial Star Destroyer like the Chimera, like it was a pretzel. Like it's simply far superior. Answers all of what the Star Destroyer can do, and Picard himself is just as able a commander as Thrawn is.
And he's a badass.
And he's a fucking badass. He reads Shakespeare and drinks Earl Grey tea. And of course they
plays like 20 instruments, right?
They have Wesley, who is Jesus Christ
now you're
reborn.
shooting yourself in the foot.
I guess if I bring up Wesley, then you also have to bring up how Worf gets his ass kicked all the time. So,
yes.
So it evens itself out a bit.
That's the first thing that would happen, by the way, is Worf would get punched and just crumple just to show.
Yeah, just to show how strong a stormtrooper would be. The stormtrooper would miss, but Worf would like trip on something on his head. Yeah.
Well. Are you looking into Legends material for this, Billy?
It's weird because Legends material sort of bleeds into the new canon, like unless it's been directly contradicted. I've been trying to avoid it because I feel like it's a bit unfair.
I think you can
sometimes, but
I don't think it's
I think the original books are going to have some things for Thrawn that could change the entire tide of this, but we can get to that. All right.
Okay.
So whether or not you want to incorporate it, do what you think works best.
Do your thing
for you, but I might bring that up later. All right,
good.
60 seconds for Thrawn. Go for it.
All right. Thrawn, Grand Admiral of the Seventh Fleet of the Imperial Navy, Mithron Naruto, expansionary defense commander studying the Empire for the Chiss Ascendancy, a brilliant tactician and skilled battle commander, rising through the ranks of the xenophobic Empire from recruit to commander in the space of 15 solar cycles. He is able to instantly perceive posture, speech, demeanor, and understand a great deal about his opponents, and uses their art, weapon designs, and other factors to intuit their strategy. He is among the most useful direct servants of the Emperor himself, standing alongside and rivaling his apprentice Darth Vader. He commands the Chimera, a customized Imperial Star Destroyer, outfitted with advanced hyperdrive, over 100 turbo lasers and shield-destroying ion cannons, with coverage along the entire ship, and a great number of customized weapons, 10 tractor beams, heavy shields, numerous squadrons of TIE fighters, bombers, and interceptors, a crew of 37,000, including almost 10,000 stormtroopers, and possibly a cloaking field. Gentlemen, in terms of Victor, the line must be drawn here.
Oh, shit.
That's great.
I love how much you commit to these, Billy. It always makes me so happy.
I want to respond to a comment in the chat because I think it'll lead nicely into this next topic. Third Degree 101 says, I think you are underestimating this to me, Star Wars tech. Death Star, anyone? And what's so great about that comment is that I'm not underestimating it. What if the Death Star wasn't just this sort of like static moon-sized battle station? What if it was a ship you fucking piloted around in, like the Enterprise? Yes, the Enterprise is a fucking Death Star. Yes, it can blow up planets. I am not joking. Even in TOS, even in the original series, the Enterprise, the original Enterprise, not the Enterprise D or E that Picard has control of, which is more advanced by like 50 to 100 years. Even that one was stated to be capable of fucking blowing up an entire planet. Like, no joke. Just shoot the fucking lasers at it and blow it up.
It's very interesting to me that
it's a Death Star.
Has the kind of like lower tech in terms of like what they can do.
Right.
It's like, Star Destroyers can glass a planet, but you need several and it takes a while to do it. You think that the Enterprise, being about half the size of a Star Destroyer, wouldn't be able to just blast the living shit out of stuff. But...
Whereas a single photon torpedo actually is capable of glassing a significant portion of a planet's surface and leaving like gigantic craters.
And it has shields that can tank that stuff.
Yes, that's and I'm going to get to that.
No.
Yeah,
go on. No. Part of the conversation. But now I think this is part of the conversation because it's death battle, so obviously they're trying to kill each other outside what they would normally do. But I don't know if they would actually just like immediately behave completely against their character. You know what I mean? Like,
right? No, I think
Khan's going to try and suss out the situation, and they're going to have a 2-minute back and forth with each other right at the start of the battle.
I mean, honestly, like,
I think a good thing to think about with this is both of these guys are strategists and planners first. I think the main reason why this is and I'm more familiar with Legends Thrawn than with current canon Thrawn, but I think the main reason why this one is suggested so much is because Thrawn does what Picard does.
Yeah.
Like, he goes to the unknown regions. He maps out planets. He finds undiscovered worlds. The only difference is that he conquers them.
Yes, yeah.
Like,
one goes for peace, the other goes to conquer.
The point of Star Trek is that it's this like enlightened, like socialist utopia in the future where we don't need to go to war except when, DS9 happens and it's like, actually, let's introduce some like fucking drama back into this series. And let's actually like go to war and shit.
Right. And it's interesting in the new canon too. Like, Thrawn is kind of working subtly for the Chiss Ascendancy against some unspoken, unknown threat in the unknown regions. So he's actually kind of just working with the Empire to make sure they are strong and a capable military, trying to weed out some of that ineptitude that you see in a lot of the films and stuff, to make them better in terms of this thing that's coming that no one knows what it is because it's 18 books down the line.
I'm getting some.
I was going to say, Liam, the chat's really coming at you about this.
Yeah, I am. Okay, great. So, as anyone who has seen Star Trek would know, there's that episode where they, it's one of the Q episodes. I think it's the one where Q loses his powers.
Who's seen Star Trek
where Q loses his powers, and they have to use their tractor beam, the Enterprise's tractor beam, to redirect a neutron star fragment, which, based on its size, and the stated density, the density stated by Data, which he said it was 100 billion kilograms per cubic centimeter, would have a mass of about 722 times that of Earth. So it moved that much it moved 700 Earths essentially. Now it did have its deflector shields boosted by 400%, so you would divide that energy by 4, but you would still get like planet levels worth of energy from just that. So it absolutely can, and Riker even states that the ship, the Enterprise, would be able to blow up an entire moon in want. So if you want to go lowball and say, oh, not planet level, moon level, even though it has planet level statements, it would still be much more powerful than an Imperial Star Destroyer is.
I think, Liam, let's. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Finish at the pause. I thought you were done.
Oh no. Well, I mean, it was I was going to move on to a different topic, but I was going to say.
Yeah. We should define the stakes and the nature of this battle, I think, because that's the most important thing.
I think the idea is they can absolutely use like diplomacy and strategy and whatever.
Well,
but the end result has to be they're both going into this with the end result being that they're going to kill the other one. The other one can't leave this alive.
That but if quick goes into the second part that I wanted to talk about in terms of why this matchup is requested.
Yeah,
I believe they brought this into. I mean, Timothy Zahn wrote the Thrawn novels for current canon, so I'm sure it's in here. Both of them aren't just strategists. The reason why they're able to interact with the foreign planets and peoples the way they do is they have a very unique way of studying them. Thrawn specifically does not study their military strategies. He studies their he does, but he primarily studies their art, their culture.
I love that.
Like the type of people that they are in general. So it's almost like if he were going to, I think the best way to think about it is if he were going to conquer Earth, right?
Yeah.
He would like send probes out, watch us for like a year, and be like, okay, what day does humanity on Earth just like not want to fight anybody?
They're very distracted by TikTok. Like,
yeah. Well, he'd pick a day, like probably in the winter holidays or whatever, to be like, all right, this is when I'm going to make my approach from this angle.
Yeah,
I'm going to do something. He'd probably use social media to counter public like claims that there's aliens attacking one side of the world. He'd use social media to be like, fake news or whatever, right on the other side of the world. So he would use what we have built,
funny.
And he'd also like take in like sciences and whatnot. So everything we've discovered about the human body, he would take and be like, all right, this is like how we fuck up the human body.
Yeah, he drummed the fucking.
So we have
pretty weak to cancer, it turns
out. He basically uses everything we've discovered about ourselves and developed as weapons against us, and that's like his main method. So
he would even
first things he does, I think, in the books is like a New Republic fleet, again, Legends, a New Republic fleet attacks him and he's like, who's leading it? Oh, it's this alien species. Oh, well, they're really bad against this one particular like military maneuver, so even though we're completely outnumbered, let's just do that military maneuver and they'll freak out. And it works, and he's totally fine. It's really interesting.
And even in this context, without, like, say, a lot of prep time, this instant he sees the Enterprise, he's going to study the shape of it, the nature of it.
Yeah.
He's going to get on view screen with Picard, and he's going to chat him up. But while he's doing that, he's researching his posture, his demeanor, his tone of voice. He loses the ability to use his infrared eyes to determine additional stuff from that, but he still has all that other stuff. He can watch other people on the bridge to do the same. He's going to pick up a ton of shit just by talking to him for a few minutes.
But he's
not going to be expecting that the Enterprise can separate.
I will add that Picard will do the same thing. And I think a big advantage Picard has, and I mentioned this slightly before, is that Thrawn is Thrawn. Thrawn's the fucking man. Thrawn is, like, without Thrawn, it's not the same, right? Without Picard, so what? You still got Riker, who's arguably a better pilot than Picard. You've got Data, who's smarter. You've got Worf. You've got Troy. You've got even Geordi has had command of the Enterprise. It's. I don't think Picard is as brilliant as Thrawn is in a one-on-one, because Thrawn is just such a genius. But his crew makes up for any deficiencies he has, whereas Thrawn is like a one-man army. And if you have if you have 2 shots that hit each bridge, and Picard is blown up and he's killed, and Thrawn is blown up and he's killed, it's fucking over for the Chimera. They're not coming back without Thrawn. Whereas the crew of the Enterprise, very sad to lose Picard, but would still be able to continue, no problem.
I don't.
What if they just beam Quark aboard the other ship and let him annoy everyone to death?
Real quick, because we definitely need to get into the transporters as well. But I do want to say that if you want to make sure that when the inevitable Thrawn invasion happens, you are not spied on by the Empire.
What a segue!
You can always use ExpressVPN. So this episode is sponsored by ExpressVPN. Using the internet without ExpressVPN is like taking a call on a train or bus on speaker for everyone to hear. You don't know who has access to your most private and sensitive information. So here's the truth. Internet providers know every single website you visit. And in the US, they can legally sell your information to ad companies and tech giants, who then use that data to target you with advertisements, not with space invasions. But ExpressVPN creates a secure encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet, so they can't spy on your online activity. And what I like most about it is, honestly, it's super easy. It's just you pull it up, it's one button, bam. And it's on your phones, laptops, even routers, so everyone who shares your Wi-Fi will be protected. That's why it's rated #1 by Business Insider and The Verge, which is pretty cool. I didn't know that. Secure your online activity today at expressvpn.com/DBC and get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN free. That's expressvpn.com/DBC. expressvpn.com/DBC. Go check them out. Longtime sponsor of the show. Thank you, ExpressVPN.
Yeah, you guys, like, if you should be using a VPN, and if you're going to use one, use ExpressVPN. They're great. Like they have sponsored us. They've sponsored like Rooster Teeth for like an entire year during the pandemic. Like, I can't stress enough like what a great company they are. And so, like, seriously, if you guys are using a VPN, make it Express.
But I cannot guarantee they would be able to stop Thrawn from spying if he dropped out of outer space.
Like,
I also even know he was spying on you the whole time too. It just come out of the blue. I know about your browser history.
I'd also like to bring up another piece of technology.
Wait, before we go on, everyone keeps saying that because I haven't got a word in edgewise here. The crew of the Enterprise would just be so much superior. But Thrawn surrounds himself with talented individuals that he himself cultivates, such as Eli Vanto and Karen Farrow. It changes a bit because, the Imperial Service is always shuffling people around, but he very intentionally puts people around him that complement himself and are trained and able to do their job properly, even without him. They may not be quite as effective without him, but it's not like they're fucking stormtroopers can't hit anything.
They're not like completely incompetent, but like when Thrawn dies in the novels, spoilers, I guess, for something that's like 40 years old.
In the original novel, as soon as he dies,
in the original novels, when he dies, it's over.
Pelayan is not able to keep up the same sort of assault that he was planning on doing. And also he dies because his main like assault force or secret assault force turns on him. Because, Leia convinces them that Darth Vader was actually tricking them the whole time. But when he does have them, and technically the Noghri exists in canon because one of them's in Rebels. They made him really short. Like in the original books, they're like 5 feet tall, but in Rebels, he's like a hobbit. I don't know, like with really long arms. He's like Gollum, kind of like muscular Gollum. It's really weird. But they are incredibly deadly assassins and capable of fighting off like Wookiees and stuff like that. Very physically powerful, very stealthy, extremely deadly and good at their jobs. If you get a couple of those on board the Enterprise, it's going to be real tough.
But here's the thing, though. You can't get them on board the Enterprise. The Enterprise can get members of their crew aboard the Chimera, though, because of transporters.
However, there's a fucking shield around the Chimera. They can't just do that. They have to knock out the shield first. And the second they beam Riker and Worf aboard, they're going to get shot by the thousands of stormtroopers that are on the ship.
And yet, okay, there's a lot of potential. Let me take this step by step. Okay, the shield. First of all, the way that shields work in Star Trek is that you have to match frequencies for that shit to like really effectively work. So it's not, I don't think it's totally clear that the shield would need to be down, but let's say it does need to be down for the transporters to work. If only there was some gigantic metal testicles on the Imperial Star Destroyer that were the shield generators. They're very obvious, and Star Trek, the Enterprise's scanners would be able to detect them immediately, and the scanners work from like 20 light years away.
Oh yeah, the scanners are crazy.
The scanners are they could operate at a way farther range, so they blow those up with photon torpedoes, which contain antimatter, which would just fucking rip right through the shields of the Star Trek shields, which are or Star Wars shields.
I want to see your math on that one, Liam, please. I actually do want to see that, because this is where we get into stupid territory, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, we can go back to power in just a second, but they would rip through the shields. They also release ion radiation, like ion cannons, which shut down Star Wars technology. And then they could just scan to see where the bridge of the ship was, where Thrawn was, beam them there, blow them up, and then leave. I think that they'd be able to do that without even entering the Star Destroyer's like effective weapons range, because weapons aboard when you have Star Destroyers fighting, like in Revenge of the Sith, the very beginning, they're really close to each other. They're like naval ships.
Yeah.
Star Trek ships operate at like hundreds of thousands of kilometers away. They're like really far. I think it makes a little more sense, to be honest.
This is where
I gotta bring in some. I was going to bring in some stuff from the chat just before we move too far. Fluttershy as a goddess says, "Get shot by a stormtrooper." Lol.
Yeah.
And then Bruno says, the real fight is stormtroopers versus red shirts. If anyone could die to a stormtrooper shot, it's a red shirt. I feel like that dude would leap in front of it.
Well, the joke is that the stormtrooper would miss every shot, but the red shirt would die anyways.
Exactly.
Find a way.
I will note, up until the Mandalorian kind of made it canon, like, the stormtroopers were ordered to miss. They weren't that bad a shot, and either Obi-Wan's crazy or, he specifically says that they're good shots in fucking A New Hope. So I think stormtroopers' inaccuracy is a little overblown, personally, but it's fucking hilarious.
Yes,
so.
and
I mean, it's a joke. It's overblown in the sense that, like,
like running gag in Rebels and Bad Batch. That like the clone troopers are better shots than the stormtroopers. The clone trooper gets into a fight with a stormtrooper at a couple different times. They're just like, man, these guys can't shoot for shit.
It's the same as with
specifically because it's a kid show, but they basically do.
It's the same as with like Worf. Like Worf gets his ass kicked all the time, but it's to show how threatening the bad guy is.
Right,
when they
narrative
do it.
device.
Worf is a fucking Klingon warrior. He has in plenty of Klingon-centric episodes where Worf kicks ass. Just not enough to get over that meme.
So on that point that you made earlier, if Picard dies, his crew can still handle themselves against a fleet like Thrawn's.
But does that count as a death?
Chimera. But does that count as a victory?
I think it would.
Picard versus
Thrawn. Yeah, I think.
I mean, in that case, then I would just bring up that there's no way that the Imperial Star Destroyer is ever getting through the shields of the deflector shields.
They have like 60 ion cannons, Liam. If you hit them a couple times, they're going down.
Here's an amazing thing. So the turbo lasers and ion cannons fire plasma. Those turbo lasers.
Well, wait. People have surmised they fire plasma. There's no hard evidence of anything in Star Wars in terms of this shit. It's all from
based on what we know
sources.
about blasters.
Right.
They fire.
But I'm willing that makes some sense. It'd be contained plasma of some sort.
The Bussard collectors. Bussard collector on the Enterprise is a giant thing that absorbs particles. In order to refuel, like absorbs like ambient particles in like a nebula or something, wherever they're passing to refuel, and that includes plasma. So once they realize what the turbo lasers are, they're just going to start absorbing them, and it's going to be refueling the Enterprise.
Well, you say that until Thrawn realizes what's happening and turns every turbo laser on it and overloads the fucking Bussard collectors, because I don't think it's got an infinite battery.
But we know that the Bussard collector is what fuels the battery of the Enterprise, which means that it is connected to that battery, and that battery is strong enough. I should say that it's the reactor, the antimatter reactor, is again strong enough to blow up moons and move neutron star fragments.
You're thinking the battery probably
it would be like trying to overwhelm like the ocean with a water hose.
But of course, that's specifically the turbo lasers and not the ion cannons, which I presume would be not likely to be collected by it.
Well,
at least that's my guess. I mean, we're
I don't
taking
know exactly what
random
ion
guesses
cannons
here.
are, but because photon torpedoes also release ion radiation, and they don't immediately destroy. They need to be powerful enough to destroy the shields of the shields. Still work against them essentially. I don't think the ion cannons would be able to get through. I don't think they'd just react like a much weaker version of the photon.
How many ion
torpedoes.
cannons does it have?
There's at least 60.
60?
Yeah,
All right.
I mean,
at once.
multiply by 60.
Some of them
it's
can't
not
fire
even
at
close.
all angles, but
We're in so much hypothetical, but like I could absolutely see it being like a plot point if this was a show with them together. I was like, focus all 60 cannons on one spot and it will take down the shield. Like,
but remember, the Enterprise has like way farther range. It can just stay out of range. And on top of that, whereas the hyperdrive in Star Wars is used for like much faster than a warp drive, I will say that. Used for long distance travel, the warp drive can be used in combat. That's actually the whole point of using
that's something
that's the Picard maneuver.
Yeah, that's something I kind of want to talk about in general, just in terms of like their comparative technologies, because fighting at warp speed would mean they're flying by it at an insanely fast rate. Like they're only going to get a shot or two off as they go past.
It wouldn't be like during. It would be like repositioning kind of a thing.
Right?
Like
yeah. They can attack while moving, but they're not going to just be like zipping back and forth because they have to fucking stop and turn around and all that extra shit. So I will 100% agree. The range is definitely in the Trek's favor because the numbers that are clearly stated as well as shown, on Star Wars' side are vastly superior.
Yeah.
I think that Thrawn's going to immediately realize that's the case and take that into his strategy. I don't think he's going to sit still while they pepper them with shots from a great distance.
Okay.
Sure, but remember, the
real quick,
Enterprise can always just move back.
I would like to throw a wrench into this, and this is from Legends, but I think it is important to Thrawn.
I think I know what you're about to say.
Thrawn has a Jedi.
Yeah.
Thrawn has the Jedi that invented battle meditation. You know that thing in KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic? It was like a big plot point. It didn't start there. It came from Timothy Zahn. Joris Cabeoth, I can't remember how to pronounce it. I don't know if I ever knew how to pronounce his name. Joris. He's an old Jedi Master, survived the initial purging of the Jedi, and he can connect himself to Thrawn's entire fleet and essentially give them pseudo Jedi-like reflexes.
What?
It's battle meditation.
I think it's where battle meditation came from, right?
What if Thrawn just like hopped in
original.
a TIE fighter and just like ghost rid the ship like straight into the Enterprise, like hit it in hyperspace and just like jump into the TIE fighter, and just blast it. But that sounds way more viable.
Someplace the Enterprise like, I'm confused.
Also, Joris can do this across multiple systems. There's a point in the original books where he connects, I think, to 3 different fleets in 3 different like battles at 3 different planets. And he's just
he's
just chilling on the bridge doing this.
Here's Liam's pre-prepared response for this.
If only there was a member of the crew that was an advanced telepath.
I knew it
could tell exactly what was going to fucking happen. Her name is Deanna Troi,
and she is constantly overwhelmed by massive things like that all the time.
Only ever useful when the plot demands it, and whenever somebody is lying and Troi is not fucking there, or she's there and he's like, I think he's lying, and it's like, yeah, no shit, he's fucking lying. But with plot contrivances aside to get her out so that she doesn't like ruin the whole twist of every episode, she'd be able to tell exactly what was happening, and they'd be able to compensate. Because even giving them like Jedi-like reflexes, I mean, the ship's not going to move any faster, right? Like, it's not going to.
But to Billy's point, come on! Like, how many times is she just like, "Oh, I'm being overwhelmed by this like strong presence or whatever the fuck"? Like,
she isn't like, it doesn't like kill her unless it's something. It doesn't kill her, but it like
takes her out.
I think she would immediately know something was going on and be powerless to do anything massive about it.
She can't like. She's not an offensive telepath, but she'd be able to tell like.
I mean, what are the extents
that something was going on?
What's the extent of her telepathy? Can she? Because like, Joris isn't using telepathy for battle meditation.
He's using like probability senses and stuff like that. Yeah,
it's not actually like, it's a mental thing for him, but he's not like. I mean, he can use telepathy as part of battle meditation. He can like communicate, so she could pick up on that. Where he's like, because that's how that is how Thrawn did command his fleets from across systems. He'd be like, Joris, tell this fleet to do this, and he'd be like, done. But the battle meditation itself is not a telepathy thing. It's just him connecting to the Force, as far as I'm aware. I could be wrong.
You know, another thing I kind of want to, I'd love to pick your brain about this, Liam, to some degree.
Yeah, yes.
Like, in Star Wars, the ships behave almost as if they're underwater, or like naval vessels, basically, because, you know, it was like World War II Navy and air battles. That's the
naval vessels. Yeah,
right, exactly.
Naval vessels and not old school, but World War II style airplane.
And that carries over even to the new series. You know, they kind of take a lot of inspiration from that. So they behave almost as if they've got drag and shit like that in space. So it kind of limits their speed in terms of Star Wars battles. But these two ships can't both have different physics, in my opinion, because that's stupid. So like, what happens?
That's a big wrench in this, isn't it?
I mean,
like,
is the drag in space or is it in atmosphere?
I just had an interesting thought, because I'm trying to think, like, lead into the strategy, like, right? Because they're both very, like, you know, brilliant tacticians. One can clearly run out of fuel, right? As we've seen in the Star Wars movies, and the one that I really dislike that whole plot point, because anyway, we're not going to get into that. But if the Enterprise can constantly refuel itself with its whatever system that I never knew about, that was really interesting.
Oh, the Bassard collectors,
yeah, and it's got like crazy range. Couldn't it just run this thing out of fuel and then from a distance just blast it out of the water?
That's what I'm saying.
I think that the second that the Bassard collectors start eating the turbo lasers, if that's even possible, he's gonna stop firing the fucking turbo lasers. Like, there's not.
He probably would.
No, for sure. But I'm talking about like you just run. You just
right. But if it's a matter of escaping, they can escape in hyperspace anytime they want, literally outpacing the Enterprise. They can cross the galaxy in fucking days.
They could outpace it in a long range, but in terms of a battle, they're not going to be using hyperspace. Yeah. No. They can get away, but they'd have to, in a fight, they'd have to be able to keep up with the Enterprise.
Sure.
And at the Enterprise, because it can still attack from a longer range, and because its impulse speed should be, I don't know, just as fast as Star Wars. They're both like sublight. And its warp drive can be used in combat. It hypothetically could just be like firing on the Chimera. Chimera gets closer, whether it hyperspace is closer or it flies closer, and it just backs up and then continues firing. Mm-hmm. Well, the Star Destroyer is like still like firing but can't reach, and no matter what it does, it'll just always be out of range if it wants.
And that's where it gets weird, because they kind of they've got a maximum speed in space, which is makes no sense. So it's like, I think that the Enterprise is always going to be faster. You're 100% correct. Even counting the weird Star Wars fake physics.
Going back to battle meditation real quick, it doesn't just improve your allies; it can demoralize the opponent simultaneously. So I think Troy would just get
has this guy. If I recall, this Sith guy is not like the greatest like ace in the hole ever. Like, has he actually done all of this?
I think it's like a passive buff that helps in the middle of the fight.
Yes. No. He is Thrawn's ace in the hole. Like the big reason why Thrawn loses ultimately in the Legends canon is because of he has to rely on this guy. Because he starts out his campaign with 6 ships, 6 Star Destroyers against the entire New Republic fleet. And he's like, fuck. How am I gonna like do this? And also the rest of the Empire is like warring among itself at this point, or the Imperial Remnant. So he gets Joris so that his fleet can be just better than everybody else. He starts winning battles, getting ships on his side. But the problem is that in order to get Joris on his side, because Joris is not a Sith, Joris is a Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
He was
a dark
tricked.
Jedi, right?
He was basically like duped by Palpatine into joining him and protecting.
I'm totally not evil.
Yeah, but like Joris wants to restore the Jedi. He wants apprentices. And so Thrawn promises him Luke and Leia's twins, who I think she's pregnant with at the time. And so what ultimately is Thrawn's undoing is this promise, because he puts so much emphasis on Luke and Leia that Luke and Leia are like, okay, we got to look into this. And that's what leads Leia to finding out about the Nagri and learning about their connection to Darth Vader, and getting them on her side instead of Thrawn's, and then the Nagri kill Thrawn. If he had not done that, he probably would have won. But
Ben,
unfortunately, Joris is kind of an asshole. And
Ben,
really
who's also
Jedi.
a non-permanent member of the USS Enterprise crew? A man by the name of one letter in the alphabet.
God,
Mr. Q.
Oh, please.
Q.
We can't. No.
Why do you think they're fighting in the first place, Liam? How do you think this happened?
I'm joking.
Joris is not like a one-time crew member. He's a main part of Thrawn's campaign.
I'm kidding.
Nice try.
It is
He
worth
goes out,
mentioning, though.
hires him.
If it was Star Trek versus Star Wars as a whole,
Oh, sure.
Q would just
Q.
go, yeah.
I do.
Joris is as much a part of the Chimera as Thrawn is. Because Thrawn,
Yeah.
I don't actually know what his main ship was out in the. I don't know if it ever talks about it. He chooses the Chimera because the Chimera is like the best run ship in the Empire, and he's like, "All right, Palaeon, I'm gonna use your ship as my flagship." But like, it's not his ship. It might be in the new canon. That might be a thing. I don't know if Palaeon even exists in the new canon. But in the old canon, it wasn't his. He claimed it because he's a Grand Admiral. He doesn't have like one ship. He has a million ships. Like
Yeah, he
just
commands an
chooses
entire
whatever
fleet. Yeah.
he wants. But only 6 of them were available for his initial campaign because all the other warlords in the Empire were like fucking around and not doing anything seriously. So he's like, well, all I got is these 6, so I'll just pick the best one.
I have a question.
Mhm.
This is something I've thought about because Death Battle has broken my brain.
Yep.
And that is weaponizing teleporters because they have very, very accurate scanning systems. Like we've seen the Enterprise like scan a ship and tell you like how many people are on it, right? And where they are. And so what I've always been curious is why don't they say like, I don't know, put a crate onto the teleporter. And instead of very accurately making sure that they don't teleport something inside of something else, they say scan and be like, that guy is on the bridge and he clearly looks like he's commanding everything. Can we just teleport a crate inside that motherfucker?
You could beam a photon torpedo.
That's the kind of thing.
Yeah, I think they've done that before.
They teleported like bombs and stuff, but like, have they ever teleported something inside of a person and then they blow up?
I mean, they wouldn't even need to do that. They could just teleport them out of the ship.
Tummy.
That's like, you see what I'm saying, right? Like,
I'm pretty sure there's a reason why they can't teleport something into a person.
I think
I remember looking at this before, but
I mean, also that's not really in
also
character
like,
for Picard to order. Like
evil
I don't think he's going to be. Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. It probably is not in character for him to order that.
Also, just side note, just a complete side note. This isn't has anything to do with who wins the battle, or I guess it tangentially does. With like Star Trek versus tech versus Star Wars tech, is the holodeck like more advanced than like anything ever shown in Star Wars?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
The holodeck is insane.
They have holodeck flight technology, but it doesn't like. For some reason, the holodeck in the Enterprise is like
alternate universe.
It's like a 20 by 20 room that goes on forever.
It's like a treadmill when you're walking in it.
So I'm watching it. I'm like, it came alive. It gained sentience.
Well, I mean, they introduced it in like season 2 or 3, and everyone on the ship was like, "Holy shit, what the fuck?
Yeah,
this thing's crazy."
We have like a pocket universe in here, and what? You give it instruction. There's that really creepy episode in season 1. By the way, season 1 of TNG.
I should say they
maybe the worst. Maybe the worst thing ever.
Oh no!
Like, oh my god! Oh my god! Code of Honor.
The Fusion Warrior's getting so meta. Transport Thrawn into a holodeck recreation of his own ship.
Oh fuck! It's like that.
They can command nothing.
So wild.
Can you transport people from other ships
wild
into yours? They transport Thrawn aboard the USS Enterprise?
That would be honestly the best strategy. I think that most in character is he thinks he's
yikes.
winning the whole time.
Yeah,
he's just commanding nothing. Yeah, no, I mean that seems like the most.
It has to be. He has to be transported to the transporter, though, right?
Right.
You could.
Yeah.
But they just pull him from the ship into the.
No, you can beam people. You can beam people like you don't. The people being beamed onto the Enterprise are beamed to a transporter, but they don't need to be on a ship's transporter. They can be like you beam people to and from planets.
I'm saying you can't beam him to the holodeck.
I imagine they put him in
no. You would just beam him to the transporter
on the platform,
and then,
to the you could
just
bring him in.
But theoretically, if it could go through the shields, yes, they could just warp him off of the Chimera and be like, all right, you're on our ship now.
And again, they just take down the shields. Like they have enough firepower, packing enough firepower with photon torpedoes.
That's one of those things I'd really like to
blow up the shields.
I think it'd be fascinating to deep dive because like numbers don't make a whole lot of fucking sense. I sent Brian this like image that claims like the Galactic Republic ships can fire across fucking light years, which is so dumb. Like, amazingly dumb, and that's in an official book. So the fuck
there's
am I
a lot of
supposed to do with that?
contradiction in Star Wars and Star Trek like numbers.
Yeah.
Like I've seen Star Trek like yields, and this is a website like devoted to this, but it's like, oh, it maxes out at megatons or something like that. Yeah, there you go.
Minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just make shit up.
10
whatever.
light minutes wouldn't necessarily be that. Well, I guess it would. It would.
It's vastly farther than we ever see in any of the films, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I've seen some, like, Star Trek, like, specifications that are like, it goes up to something megatons. But then in other ones, it's like, and then it glassed the surface of this planet. Like, that's not megatons. So there's a lot of contradiction in determining...
Well, glassing a planet can mean a lot of different things. They talk about Star Destroyers glassing planets as well.
Yeah,
really
but they show you, they show you, like, there's an image, I could have shared it, but it was kind of like, it was sort of, the ship was sort of blocking it, but you see like a continent like a crater the size of like Africa on this planet that was created by the Enterprise, and it's like this huge fucking like black mass. So it's definitely like way more than like megatons, unless you're talking about trillions of megatons.
The chat has informed me that the teleporter warfare is actually a war crime, and that's why they don't do it.
I think he even
makes sense.
Sending weapons through it, but
but hey,
that might not necessarily count here.
Speaking of the transporter, though, Ben, I'm sorry, I just have to make a moment to try and match your segue, because I need everyone here to transport themselves to Austin, Texas, July 1st through 3rd, at the Austin Convention Center to come hang out with us at RTX. So guys, if you don't know what RTX is, it's the Rooster Teeth convention. It's our chance to get to hang out with you guys. It is a ton of fun. We've got everything from like gaming, panels, music, including a 360 gaming pavilion, where some of us will be out there playing video games with y'all, hanging out. We've got a death battle panel. I don't know what else I'm allowed to talk about, but there's a lot of really cool stuff that I don't think has been announced yet. But honestly, I absolutely love doing conventions. It's one of my favorite things in the entire world, and we haven't got to do this in years. And RTX is back in person, and I'm so excited to get to see you guys, get to hang out, get to answer questions, joke around, sign autographs, take pictures, whatever. I know, like, Ben and I both have been talking about how much we miss conventions. Liam's gonna be there. Billy's gonna be there, I assume. We've got a lot of really fun stuff planned. You guys should absolutely, if you can do it, if you can swing it, come meet us in person at RTX, July 1st through 3rd. Head to rtxevent.com to pick up your badges. Also, if you guys are still like worried about like, where COVID levels are at and stuff like that, it's totally refundable. So if you want to pick up a badge, and then at the time, if you're not feeling comfortable, you can get a full refund. But we would love to see you. We've got some cool stuff planned. So rtxevent.com. Come say hi. We'd love to see you. Or click on that QR code. Look at that. I don't know if you could hear. I don't know if Brian, sometimes he just talks to me.
Click on
that
QR code.
There's a QR code on the screen right now.
Give it a little scan.
Also, I need to apologize. I said data earlier. It's data.
It's been driving me nuts since you said it.
I did correct myself back then, but it was a bit rushed.
So we're getting close to the end here, so I do want to make sure we set our parameters, because I saw a couple people in the chat asking about this. So parameters for this, especially since we're getting close to the poll. Win conditions and battle setup. I think it makes sense, given what we've talked about, to say that the main battle is between the Chimera and the Enterprise. And the win condition is either Thrawn or Picard is ended, is killed. If they're out of commission, the rest of the battle doesn't matter anymore. Maybe, the Star Destroyer hyperdrives through holdo maneuvers, whatever the fuck they want to call it, and destroys it. I don't care. What matters is Picard and Thrawn, because that's what we came in here for in the first place. The Star Destroyer has its own ships inside it. I think it still makes sense to provide at least the other 5 Star Destroyers, which I think in this regard means, while based on what we've all talked about, Picard definitely has more the superior technology on his side. but Thrawn has more ships and a more overwhelming potentially force, especially with like starships and whatnot. Each of them have their own fleets of TIE fighters. I know in the new canon, there's like the TIE Defenders that was mentioned. I don't think the TIE Defenders ended up being like completely brought to full production though. So he's got like all the other TIE fighter types, like bombers, interceptors, etc.
I mean, I think one of the dangerous things is if he's got the entire fleet, he may have interdiction field generator ships that stop fucking light speed from working, which may have it causes a gravity well, which may limit the ability to go to warp also. So if he's got the fleet, it's kind of unbalancing. I don't mind that, mind you.
Well, you would just give Picard a Federation fleet.
Speaking of stopping things from working, I have to read this comment from the Fusion Warrior, who says Data would just use multimodal reflection sorting to invert a tractor beam from the deflector dish, and that would cause all of Thrawn's armada to lose all systems. I can't tell if this person knows so much about Star Trek or is the world's greatest bullshit artist. Because
it's all right. What's up, Liam? And then I want to wrap this up.
Oh, I was just gonna say I have no idea if that's true or not, but it does. I mean, it's just classic Star Trek gobbledygook. But that does kind of sound like that could be a thing. Sure, yeah, fuck it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got a pretty good idea of like technology comparison. We did, I did want to say, just to be clear on what Billy was talking about, Thrawn does have the Indictor. It can bring things out of hyperspace, stop warp travel.
Because my user on the Discord says that they probably wouldn't do anything to subspace. I don't know. I mean, it's a gravity well.
That's true. It might be a little different. Yeah. But they also have a cloaking device. So one of his strategies is to send in a ship with a cloaking device in front of it that covers his fleet behind it. So he can, I don't know. I would assume that the Enterprise has technology that can just scan past them and be like, there's ships over there.
Ben, that actually got brought up. They've tracked cloaked ships in the past by like the sensors are so good they tracked like their emissions and stuff. So they found them.
Yeah. Okay. So Chad. I want you guys, Liam and Billy, I want you guys to think just a little bit about not how their technology compares, but about how Thrawn and Picard's strategies compare. Because we talked a little bit about it, but then we got really in depth of the tech. But if even if Star Trek tech is way better, if Thrawn has the mental fortitude to use all of his abilities and of course the battle meditation to overwhelm, Picard, or use what he has to outsmart him, that might be a difference. And maybe Picard is too smart, to fall for that. But while you guys are thinking about that, let's go ahead and bring up the answers from you guys. Yeah, the community tab answers. Go ahead and bring up the first one.
All right, this comes from Hollow Avarice. Only one of these men laughed after being stabbed in the heart. Picard withstood torture, lived multiple lives, has turned a chaos god into his personal rival, is a skilled fencer, athlete, and pilot. Hell, Picard is so badass, even his clone was able to conquer an entire xenophobic fascist alien empire in just a few years. That might be one of my favorite Twitter responses ever.
Interesting way to describe him. All right, let's bring up the other one.
That was great. All right, Samuel Ritz says, Picard is an excellent captain, but as he himself has said more than once, he is an explorer, not a warrior. Also, it's important to note Picard has much less experience commanding multiple vessels, having only just become an admiral before his retirement during peacetime. Thrawn, on the other hand, is already an IS Grand Admiral in a militaristic empire at comparatively the same age as Captain Picard. Not to mention, if Thrawn gets a look at Picard's archaeological art collection, he'll have him completely figured out in minutes. This is great. This is so much more debate than I thought.
If they did transport Thrawn onto the Enterprise,
he started reading Shakespeare.
Actually, be kind of an issue. Because if Thrawn does escape, he's going to learn everything about him.
But Thrawn reading Shakespeare would be amazing. He's like, ooh, now I understand humanity.
Right. Before we get to the vote, do you guys have anything you want to say about their characters, about their abilities themselves, as opposed to the tech?
I can. I think Thrawn is undoubtedly brilliant, a genius. But I think that he relies on longer campaigns of strategy and prep time. He is a studier of Sun Tzu, not literally, but that the art of war, essentially. Picard, however, almost always fights his battles without prep time, encountering them randomly, and needing to figure out the solution to a host of insane problems, like the amount of times they fight reality warping gods in Star Trek, or go back in time, or fight aliens that don't think the way that humans think is it's every episode. It's the whole point. So I think that Picard, I won't want Picard's intelligence to be undervalued. I think that he is an amazing strategist and tactician. And just to kind of quantify his brilliance, Picard maneuver, classic maneuver where he essentially creates the illusion of two enterprises at the same time using warp technology, was so brilliant that it took days for Data, an android with a positronic brain far more advanced than any humans, took him days of nonstop thinking just to come up with barely a strategy against it. That's how brilliant Picard was.
There is a strategy against it, and one of their crew does know about it.
It's good. Right,
let's get the poll up. Let's get this poll up in the chat. We got to wrap this up.
I know.
Billy,
I saw it was missing, so I put
that maneuver is only going to work once, by the way. But he's not a diplomat. He's a warrior. He's got a record of defeating vastly superior foes and technologies, and is a proponent of preemptive strikes. So I think he's got a lot going for him, even if he's at a technological disadvantage, which is the biggest thing he's got going against him in this case.
All right, let's go ahead and get the our votes in, or we start with actually the community poll from the community tab. Let's go ahead and bring that up. All right, Thrawn is winning that 81%.
Wow,
that's pretty 81%. That's before the arguments. The arguments. So, Chad, let's get your vote. Where are you voting?
I think I know how this is going to go because DJ called this out in the chat that he said he loved how this episode has somehow become Liam and Chad versus Ben and Billy. And I don't know why I defaulted to that, but I'm just feeling it. So I'm going to go with Picard for my vote.
Oh, wait, you're predicting I'm going to vote Thrawn?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because you were backing him up.
I'm voting Picard. I'm voting Picard.
Are you really?
Everyone's against me here.
I was helping out with Thrawn because I know shit about
I appreciate
Thrawn.
that, by the way, Ben.
All right, I'm voting for Picard. That's 2 for Picard, 1 for Thrawn. Let's go ahead and get that chat vote wrapped up and see what you guys voted for. If it is a tie, we do have a tiebreaker, but we'll see what this looks like. Oh man, what an interesting matchup. This is definitely something that it doesn't really fit our usual death battle rules.
Brian, are you snipping this? Do I need to end poll?
One to do.
I just noticed it wasn't up, so I was doing it on the fly.
Brian's working on it.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
All right, here it is. We've got Picard at 59%, Thrawn at 40%.
Whoa!
All right.
It feels appropriate.
Liam looked shocked.
Whoa. I don't think I've ever swung the vote before. I don't know if I've ever swung the vote before.
Liam, how many lights were there?
How many low? There are. What was the number? What he says? He says like.
Oh, you don't know. Well, that's the problem right there.
I don't remember the episode. I haven't gotten there yet.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us for this episode of Death Metal Cast. Of course, Magneto vs. Teto is up. Please check it out. It's so much fun, and I'm very curious to hear what you guys have to say about the next episode as well. No spoilers here, but we'll talk a bit about it a little on the next episode of Death Metal Cast. We do this every Tuesday live at 3 p.m. Central Time on the Death Battle YouTube channel. If you are a member, you can join our chat and interact with these community death battles and tell us who you think should win and why we're wrong. So we love seeing you guys here, and we hope to see you guys at RTX as well. So just wrapping this up, finally, be kind to others, be kind to yourself, be awesome, and we'll see you next week.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.